Hi everybody, it's Kirsty. I use astrology to solve crimes, but I also teach astrology as well. So this is the second part of the lesson on houses, and this is in regard to the second house, and that is, put a box around it, that is this one here, this. Okay, let's get a tool that will work. There we go. The second house is this entire thing here. Opposite the second house, and we always need to look opposite of every house. And there's always a very opposite as well, which is also the same degree on the house cusp, and that's the 8th house. So the 2nd and the 8th house are on an axis and are in relationship to each other. Now this one here just has a very, very minimal one word, keyword going around each one. So I'm going to go into more keywords. Okay, so a lot of people know that the second house is money. It's, material possessions and possessions, things that we hold dearly. And then there's things that we own, and then there's also another trait to it, which is more feeling worthy of oneself. So in terms of finances, being able to get what you are entitled to earn with the job that you do requires you to be able to accept finances. There's some positions where planets are in the second house and it becomes difficult to accept money. There's some planets like Venus or Jupiter that sit in the second house, and money is never a problem for somebody. But what it also rules is debts, bankers and banks, bonds and investments. That's not the 8th house, that's this house here. So don't get confused. Some people think bonds and investments and stocks are the 8th house. They're not, they're the second house. Cash itself is the second house. Making a budget for your house, that's the second house. It's the professional reputation and the standing of your children. That's the second house as well. It is our earning capacity. It rules our ears. In mundane astrology, it rules things like national exports and national finances as well, so finances on a larger scale, and trade or commercial affairs is also the second house. Mortgages, second house. Possessions of all kind, as I said, is the second house. Jewelry, giving and receiving, loss and gain, both of them. A place where money is kept. So if someone's lost money in a horary chart, you'd look to the second house. Our metabolism is ruled by the second house. I've got another picture up now, and I thought this might help with people that aren't sure where the second house is. So this is the first house, And it says here Capricorn is on the first house cusp. We know that because of this sign here. It's a cool sign to draw, my favourite. At 14 degrees Capricorn. The beginning and end of 30 degrees of the sign of Aquarius, which is after Capricorn, are these two lines here. But this line here is the second house cusp. And in this chart, it's in Aquarius. But as we can see, that 30-degree sign to sign of Pisces is contained within the second house as well. So this is a different chart, obviously, because it has an intercepted sign in this, a sign in this intercepted house, I should say. Okay, so a few other things that are ruled by the second house. Just before I go there, one would think that when Saturn is in the second house, that finances, self-worth, and all the things that come under both of those things could be restricted because of Saturn. So just a note there. This person might have a few restrictive qualities, having Capricorn and Saturn there and there. Okay. Precious stones are ruled by the second house. Our attitude towards possessions. Now this is where I believe where self-worth and feeling worthy comes in, because it's your attitude towards how you obtain possessions and things. So it's a well-known fact that money is an exchange and an energy exchange. It's important to exchange money for goods, for services, in order for the economy to keep running, but also in order to make ourselves feel good. We earn and another person earns in return. It's just society, it's the way it works. So to feel good within ourselves, we as humans have to earn money to live. We have to have possessions. Well, we don't have to. We could have no possessions and no money, obviously, but to have money and possessions is, for some people, very important. For some people, not so important. But that all depends on the planets in here and the rest of the chart as well. As you can see, this chart has got a grand trine going there. We can only see a little bit of it, but so it would be important, these two planets in here, and I'd have to read that to get a full understanding. Okay, our social background is shown by the second house. If you're a sportsman or into sports, your reputation of the reputation of a sports person is the second house. Who would have thunk that, hey? Taxation, taxing in mundane astrology is the second house. Our inner thoughts can be represented by the third house. The throat, any throat problems or ailments, and throat specialists is the second house too. Giving tips to waiters and people that do good jobs, second house. Glandular swellings and problems with the neck, second house. In the criminal astrology, the second house can often represent, along with Venus, strangulation or constriction around the throat. And that's why, because it represents the throat and the neck. It represents the legacies of the death of our partners. So there's heaps that it represents. I hope this gives you a little overview. We'll do the third house next. Bye.